Welcome to the favorites, the podcast, part of the Volume Podcast Network. I am Chad Millman of the Action Network. Let's welcome in my co-host, my companion, my compadre, my BFF professional better, Simon Hunter. Hello, Simon.
Chad, how we doing, brother?
Dude, we made it. Every year, we hope and pray training camps would come a little bit sooner, but they always seem to come at the exact same time, which means it's time for us to kick off our annual division by division NFL preview episodes, going through each of the 8 divisions across the AFC and the NFC as our march to week 1 officially begins. Today we start with the always electrifying division that I am quick to show deference to, one that I have nothing but respect for, one that shows us year after year after year why it is not a joke division at all, a division that has been loved and admired by us on this show for going on a decade, the AFC South.
Yeah, it's a gross division, but it's a division that you can find a lot of value in, and we've had some really fun years betting it, right? The Trevor Lawrence year that he came back 8-1, 10-1. Some people got it to win this division on the last game of the year against Tennessee. Pretty exciting. And the following year, Brandon Anderson, we had him on the show, talked about Houston Texans. I think they were 11-1. Sure enough, won the division. So it's just a crazy division. You can go from worst to first in this division if you get the right quarterback with the defensive combination, just because we talk all the time. It's a bad division, Chad. So if you just have one really good part of your team, you can usually dominate this division in that sense.
Well, look, that's sort of the theme for this division, and we've talked about it a few times on the show already during the offseason. And so let's get into it. The Houston Texans, they're the division winners the past 2 seasons. CJ Stroud had a brilliant rookie season. He took a huge step back last season, arguably a lot of different reasons for that. Their division odds plus 110. Their conference odds 16-1. Longer, by the way, than the Chargers, whom they crushed in the playoffs. Their Super Bowl odds 30-1. Their win total 9.5. Dude, I want to love the Texans. I really do. I want to believe in CJ Stroud. I want to believe in the back-to-back playoffs. I want to believe in destroying the Chargers, keeping it close with the Chiefs in the postseason. I want to believe because their defense is so good at every level. You know, Daniil Hunter signed a new extension for big money. They got Will Anderson. Derek Stingley signed a deal, 3 years, 90 million, 89 guaranteed. I want to love this team so much, but they have done nothing to help the offensive line. In fact, they've gotten worse. No more Laramie Tunsil, graded as one of the best tackles in the NFL. The big issue last year was the offensive line. I've got the stats to back it up on how it impacted CJ Stroud and the most important elements of his game. Simon, before I dig into the data here, give me your take on the Texans. Am I blowing all of this out of proportion? Because at the end of the day, it's the best quarterback in the division. Take the best quarterback.
Yeah, it's interesting talking to scouts on the team where their view of it was it's a big deal to lose, obviously lose an offensive lineman, but to them, they were so bad they needed to make major change, and that's across the board. And Tunsil, you can talk about him as a great player. He is. He's older, Chad. He's not what we still think of in previous years, right? Last year, you can't put the blame on him because, like you just said, that whole offensive line was bad, but he wasn't that great either. Like he wasn't really dominant in his one-on-ones as well. So I'm with you. I didn't really get the move, but the more I've talked to guys on the team and kind of got their perspective on it, I understand why they made the move. Now, talking about the quarterbacks, we talked. I mean, this is year 3 for CJ, and this division 3 years ago was all about the quarterbacks, right? We had CJ go to Houston. We had the Colts take Anthony Richardson, and then you had Tennessee take Will Levis. Now here we are, 3 years later. Will Levis is gone. I mean, he's basically his career is over in Tennessee. They took Cam Ward, the first pick, and Anthony Richardson, total unknown. CJ has been in the playoffs every season and has won a playoff game every season. So I think it's tough where we had expectations for people, but to me, he's come into the league and he's done everything I expected him to do. Like he shows up in the playoffs. And again, we talked that game against the Chiefs. I know everyone played the Chiefs tight and tough last year, but they were in it. They were in it that fourth
Yeah.
quarter. So this is a team we talk about. We know they have a load of talent, but like your questions right now, I think is what the majority of the public is feeling. And that is why this isn't minus 150 and minus 160, right? There's a reason this is plus 110 because we have so many questions about this new rebuilt offensive line. And what is up with CJ? Was that just because of the regression of last year we expected and defensive coordinators being better against him and him struggling because of that and the adjustments they made? Maybe, but a little bit like me and you watched a lot of their games. He just looked different. He didn't have the same confidence. Him putting the ball downfield was a little different. So I get the hesitation from people, but to me, 9.5, if I'm gonna bet it, I have it right at 10. I'll take the over, but it's so small. Am I really gonna put a lot of money into it? No, it's a very small margin here because to me, 10 to 11 wins is true for them. That's a real possibility. But the reason it is 9.5 so low is because of the unknown of Tennessee, of Jacksonville, of the Colts. Like this, we all expect this division to be much better than they were last year, right? Last year, Houston just had their way in this division. So that's why, like, a lot of people have asked about this 9.5. They're like, is it trappy? It's not that trappy in the sense that the books have laid this number because of that, right? They have the same type of model. If their model has this at 10, why not throw it at 9.5 and juice it to the over, right? That's where most of the public money should come in. And so makes sense that it's 9.5. I'm shocked they're 30 to 1 Super Bowl odds. Like I wouldn't probably put it below 35. So to me, there's no value for looking at their Super Bowl odds. But if you want to make a play on the division of plus 110, Chad, I can't fault you for it. I've thrown a little bet on it in parlays with them and a couple other teams, but straight up wise, this is not the team I'm betting for this division at all.
Me neither, brother. I am not a buyer on the Texans in any respect. The 9.5 is just not that interesting.
Yeah, it's not appealing.
It's not that interesting to me. Let's not discount the fact that they really didn't do anything to upgrade their receiver room. Nico Collins is really their only primary target. They haven't really upgraded the running back situation. Joe Mixon has an injury that has not fully been disclosed, that they say happened away from the facility, that's going to keep him out through a lot of training camp. They have Nick Chubb, but Nick Chubb is old and injury prone for a running back.
Now, I
So
do want to
all
just say the wide receiver, Chad, they did add, I know it's not a big name to you, Christian Kirk.
I know
He,
they had a Christian
he's a
Kirk
good
like one
veteran. I know. I
one
just want to
year,
say
four
that. I don't want to shit
million.
on him. And Jaden Higgins, a rookie, has a really high upside. So they did address a little bit the wide receiver. I'm not trying to say you're totally off base, but like they did add some pieces to the wide receiver room.
You asked what happened to CJ Stroud last year. I'm going to tell you what happened to CJ Stroud last year because I've been digging into the data. One of the biggest reasons for his progression in 2023, CJ Stroud was a revelation in the deep passing game, right? Per the advanced stats such as EPA on deep throws or his PFF ranking for deep throws, he was so good. He had one of the five best seasons over the previous five seasons of anybody in the NFL throwing the deep ball. In 2024, he was so bad on deep balls, he fell to 29th in EPA. Again, EPA is expected points added. 29th on deep balls in EPA in the NFL. What happened, you might ask? Why did CJ Stroud regress so much? And we tried to figure it out all year last year. Like, were the defenses doing something differently? Was it the injuries to Nico Collins? Was it, different kind of sort of thinking from CJ? The biggest issue goes back to what we talked about in the beginning, the offensive line, the disruption pressure rate that he faced. Okay. What that really means is like he was disrupted from going through even his initial progression, increased from 5% in 2023 to 25% in 2024. That was the highest in the league. So this guy couldn't even get through his initial reads on any play. And it took away what was his greatest weapon as a rookie. And remember, like, think back. We all remember how great he was throwing deep balls. And if you even think about that playoff game against the Chargers, he was throwing bombs in that game. Multiple explosive pass plays. Those are what won them that game, in addition to Justin Herbert throwing the 4 picks, was his ability to generate explosive plays downfield with the pass. If he can't do that this year with a new coordinator, that to me poses a real problem for the Texans and CJ Stroud.
Yeah, and we would both agree though they still obviously have the best defensive unit in this division. They still
Yes.
have the best quarterback in this division by a long shot. And if you're someone out there that likes doing these divisional parlays like I like doing, I have no issue with you betting it right now, throwing them into a parlay. But like we're about to dive in here. There's other teams in the division that just have better odds, better value. Where I'm not saying it was fluky that year one with CJ, but you talked about a little bit with the numbers where we knew he was due for a regression on the deep ball. That's insane though. Him being 29th, I didn't know it was that bad. That nice median, if he can be back in the top 15, that's going to pretty much lock them up to win this division, right? Like that would be
Yes.
such a huge bump in their offensive output. So I'm with you. Again, another thing that's not being talked about enough, Joe Mixon being hurt. I know he's not Joe Mixon of old, but that's still a big deal to that offense where, he rushed for over 1,000 yards. He was pretty important to that offense last season. So yeah, it's going to be something to follow along the next month, see what he is in the update on his injuries, because he is in line right now to miss the first couple of weeks. That's why they're talking in camp. So pretty interesting injury to follow with that team.
Real stabilizing force on the team, real veteran presence, did so much to put that team in contention when things were not going well for the offense and for the passing game. All right, so it feels like we're in somewhat alignment on the Texans and their failings, but also their strengths. It really could come down to their defense. If CJ improves on the deep ball a little bit, we like them a little bit more. But right now, we don't find any value in their numbers unless we're doing their plus 110 and some parlays to win the division. All right. Jacksonville Jaguars plus 300 to win the division, 35 to 1 to win the conference, 80 to 1 to win the Super Bowl. Win total 7.5. Simon, can you tell me what this date means for the Jacksonville Jaguars? You ready? December 4th, 2023.
Was that the last time they were above 500?
No. December 4th, 2023 was a Monday night game against the Bengals. At that point in the season, the Jags were 8-3 in 2023. They were leading the division, still building off of a monster comeback playoff win in 2022 against the Chargers that solidified Trevor Lawrence as one of the top young QBs in the NFL. It made it look like the Doug Peterson Trevor Lawrence connection was going to catapult them into the next realm of AFC greatness. Midway through the fourth quarter of that game, it was tied 28-28. Trevor Lawrence was stepped on by his own lineman, Walker Little, severely injured his right ankle, did not return to the game. The Jags lost in overtime, 34-31. They dropped to 8-4 in the season. They'd go on to lose 4 of their final 5 games, finish the season 9-8, miss the playoffs. Wheels fell off. They never put him back on. The next year, even when he was healthy, Trevor Lawrence starts 0-4. They never get into a groove. He hurts his shoulder. He's done for the year. So who is this team going to be? Like, is Trevor Lawrence the guy who took them on that miraculous comeback in the playoffs and then started the next year 8-3 and then had that debilitating ankle injury and the team kind of never recovered over the next season and a half? New coach, Liam Coen, Brian Thomas Jr. was brilliant, Travis Hunter. They've improved what they've done on offense. Question marks at running back, bottom 10 offensive line, 6th easiest schedule, according to win-loss projections. So I'm a buyer on the Jags.
I can't fault you. I know a lot of pros. Like again, this is this division. There's pros that like a lot of these teams for different reasons. A lot of pros I've talked to who like these guys in May, then in June. Now they're like even more here in July. The hype keeps building is because it's the classic new head coach. Like the new head coach, you bring him in with a new offensive scheme. You bring in Travis Hunter. I mean, people want him to play both sides. The wide receiver position, I think, is going to be the first thing they're trying to work into him, right? They want him to be
Yeah.
a weapon on offense first, just because we know that that matters more. The likelihood of him being a number one shutdown corner is much smaller than it is being a stud wide receiver. It's just a much easier position to play rather than defensively. But the thing that really stands out to me is the fact that, they got Walker, they got Josh Hines Allen, these two incredible D linemen that, I mean, as much as we like to shit on the Walker draft pick, he's just been getting 10 sacks every year. Like I think last year was his third season, another 10 and a half sacks. Like they have the defensive front, in my opinion, but man, are they bad across the board defensively? Like there's a lot of ways to attack that team defensively. And did they go out and address that stuff? I don't know. Like the Travis Hunter stuff, him being their number one corner, yes, that'd be amazing in an ideal world. It's not looking that way. Like you just watch his footwork. I just, I can't imagine him trying to go up against teams number ones. Like him going against Nico Collins, he would have a horrible day against Nico Collins. Like Nico Collins is so professional running routes. He would put Travis Hunter's head on a swivel. So my mind when I look at this team is high upside. Do you love the number, Chad? Is plus 300 enough value for you? If it is, then it's good value. Like that's the question here. Is the number good enough? 7.5 wins. Yeah, if Trevor Lawrence can be that guy you just talked about, that 8-3 quarterback that was ascending at that point, yes, this team should easily reach this number in this division. They have such a high level offense that with, even if we don't know who their number one running back is right now, like even looking at their depth chart, Tank Bigsley took a step back. Travis Etienne took a step back. We don't know which one of those guys will be the guy or could be the rookie they drafted. Like that's a big question right now. But you kind of brought up something we talk about all the time. The offensive line, something we really do care about. That to me is going to be an interesting part about, you bring in a new head coach, you're bringing a new offensive style. Can he wrap the offense around Trevor Lawrence and that offensive line? Can he make it work, a quick pass offense? Because we know on the outside, if you have Hunter and Brian Thompson Jr., that's an insanely deadly combo of wide receivers. Like no excuse for Trevor Lawrence when you have those two guys on the outside. But can he survive that offensive line, Chad? So that's why I'm a little hesitant with this team. I did make a small bet on them, their win total, because it did open at 7.5. I bet it. The juice has been going up towards the over. Because to me, they're an all upside team. When you bring in a new head coach, you have Trevor Lawrence coming off an injury, and they're kind of left for dead in the public opinion's eye. I do like them. But I also can see this team easily crash and burning just because of all that, like you just talked about. He does not stay healthy. That's the biggest issue with Trevor Lawrence. He doesn't stay healthy, and he's inconsistent. So, to me, so many questions about this team. I haven't bet them divisionally. I've not bet them Super Bowl odds, even though it is tempting, 80-1. It's just I can't get there. But the win total of 7.5 in this division, with all the offensive firepower they have, if they can just put it together offensively, I do like that number, Chad. So I get why you have love for them coming into this year.
Why wouldn't you bet the division? Like plus 300 feels like crazy good value for this team right now that it 18 months ago was the division winner. Don't forget, like even though CJ Stroud went to the playoffs his rookie year, that was the last game of the year and they only got in because Trevor Lawrence got hurt and the Jags collapsed. Like they're removed and they've got new coaching and a new administration, but a lot of the talent is still there. It just feels like they've been completely forgotten about. Plus 300 feels too long to me.
I'm playing, you know me, I'm always playing the angle. So basically, they start the season with the Panthers. So yeah, we love the Panthers. We'll dive into them on our next show. But they go Cincy, Houston, 49ers, Chiefs, Seattle, then the Rams, and their bye week. So to me, if I can be patient here and they can go, 3-4, I might be able to get a better number at their bye week point. Because then they come out of their bye week, they come out and they play Vegas, Houston, Chargers, Arizona. Like they have a really tough start to the season with that Cincy, Houston, 49ers, Kansas City run. Like to me, that's just a brutal stretch. So I'm just gonna be patient here, and I think you'll get a better number if you wait in season, just because I just don't see a scenario where they're going to Cincinnati, winning, coming home, beating Houston, then going at the 49ers, winning, and then coming home, beating the Chiefs. Like that, just to me, for this new coaching staff, that's a really, really rough start, Chad. I know you probably didn't dive into that as much. You agree that's a little daunting to start the year that way.
I did. I dove into it for the first two games. I honestly didn't dive beyond that. Um, and I saw the Panthers on the schedule, and I'm like, oh, well, that's an automatic L for the Jags.
There you go. There you go.
And we'll talk about the Panthers in the NFC South in the
Yeah.
next show, like you just said. A little hint. I know we have asked people to tail us on the Panthers for many, many years. And Simon, as you and I have discussed, for the book I'm working on, I have uh, done a very deep dive into my betting history over the past 7 seasons, all of which is tracked in the Action Network app. And the fun part of that is I was able to download every single bet and track it to the most minute level of detail. And the my record betting bad teams, the teams that we have lost the most, that we are always so ready to bet, Jags and Panthers. Like it is amazing how frequently we lose those games when we are so sure that is the exact right side.
My favorite thing is you said we've been betting the Panthers for years. It was just 1 year. That's how many years it felt like it took off your life. It was just 1 year, but it felt like years to you because it
No
was
joke.
that
And by the way, it took
miserable.
years off our life. And by the second half of the season,
Oh, it was
they were
great.
phenomenal.
Yeah, it was the best. No,
And we'll talk about
they
that.
were a
Like when I
moneymaker
was doing
for
the
us. Yeah.
research for Thursday's show,
Just that
I was
first 10 weeks, man. Whew, that was tough.
over the weekend, I did the research for Thursday's show, and I saw the Panthers, and I'm like, oh my God, they were fucking brilliant. And so we'll talk about that on Thursday. But your point is well taken. Maybe that's just a better time to buy the Jags.
Yeah, I'd
Later
be
in,
patient because that is I got you right away when I saw that plus 300. I was like, yeah, I was tempted, and then I was like, why are they giving me that number? Let me look into their schedule a little bit, see if there's a better opportunity come up in the year. And that bye week jumped out to me. That could be good value that bye week if you want to take a position on them.
all right, so I think it's fair to say, Simon, the Jags and the Texans are where the AFC South projections fairly land. The Colts are such a disappointing franchise because I feel like they had the opportunity with Shane Steichen to take it to the next level because I think we were both really impressed with how he coached that team 2 seasons ago. And with myriad injuries, Anthony Richardson, Gardner Minshew filling in, they are plus 360 to win the division. They are 50-1 to win the conference, 100-1 to win the Super Bowl. The win total to me at 7.5 feels like what they've been. It's a representation of them being stuck in mediocrity. Obviously, the biggest play, and we'll dig into this, is Daniel Jones is now going to be the quarterback. Anthony Richardson has been A, struggling with play and accuracy, but B, still has lingering injury issues. Like, I feel like I don't have a ton of strong opinions on this team. They're a middle of the pack team being graded as a milk toast investment. Like, what do I do here?
It's a tough team to read. Is it fully closed the window? I mean, that they had this incredible run where they had Andrew Luck and they didn't have the offensive line. And then as soon as he retired, they finally had the offensive line and they had the defense. They kept bringing in these veteran quarterbacks. And, people remember I liked Anthony Richardson. He's failed in many ways, but they failed him as an organization. And like you just said, now they brought in Daniel Jones. And, the books, once again, another line that people think they don't know what they're doing with it, and they're just throwing out 7.5. I have this number at 7, so to me, the books priced are right. We're 7.5. That feels right because the season can go two ways. Like, they have some talent on the team. They have it, like you just said. I think we both agree. They have the coaching. Can they have the quarterback to play consistent? They've not had a consistent quarterback since Philip Rivers. So it's been
Philip
rough.
Rivers. Like, that doesn't even count.
He was solid for them, but yeah, I just it's just tough to watch where you see these pieces. I mean, like the tight end they just went and got this year, you know, it was flip flopped. You can either take Warren or the guy you guys got on the Bears. It was one or two was they're going to be the top tight end. These guys are apparently like Brock Bowers. They're absolute specimen freaks. Do you want to get them touches? Okay, do you trust Anthony Richardson to be consistent throwing to a tight end? I mean, his weaknesses are those 5 to 10 yard passes.
Yeah.
And, we talked a couple of months ago and we joked about it, but it's like the fact that he was missing offseason programs because still had a shoulder injury. It's just all bad for this Colts team. So if you are out there betting this and betting the total, you're holding on to hope of he takes that next step or Daniel Jones can come in and, we've seen him lead a team to the playoffs. We've seen him win a playoff game against Kirk Cousins, that Vikings team. Like it's there for Daniel Jones. We know he just needs the coach in the right offensive line and the right scheme. Could this be it? Like, could that be the kind of thing where he just beats out Richardson? Because, it is a big deal that the owner, Jim Irsay's passed away. Like the daughters have taken over. I see them doing it a little differently, and they're not, to me, as committed to Anthony Richardson as maybe their dad was. So if he comes in, he's just not putting it together. I could see them going with Daniel Jones, which my opinion would be better for them for this year, but not long term. So it's a tough team, Chad. I honestly haven't placed a single bet on this team in any way. I'm leaning towards the under, but I'm just waiting to see who the quarterback is. Because if it's Daniel Jones, I'll throw a little on the over. If it's Richardson, I'll take the under just because he has been so inconsistent.
What have you seen that makes you say the daughters would run it differently and wouldn't be committed to Anthony Richardson?
The way I've just seen them talking about, like talking how they go to practice, they're always meeting with the GMs, and their whole view is they're involved, but they want to stay out and let people do their jobs. Where Jim Irsay was notorious for making the main decisions, right? He was the reason the quarterbacks came in. He was the reason Philip Rivers came in. He was the reason Carson Wentz came in. I mean, Matt Ryan came in. He's always been the reason these different things have happened where apparently the daughters are letting the front office now make the moves, which, again, that to me that's what you want. You don't want an ownership like Jerry Jones and these other owners that are heavily involved in their teams. Just because the oil business doesn't mean you know the football business. And that's always been my biggest issue with these owners where they're doing stuff off ego and feel where, yeah, Jim Irsay was a great owner. He lucked into Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck. Like, that's how it can be in this league, right? You don't need to be a genius to do those type of things. So I'm excited to see the future of this Colts organization just because of that. I really like everything I've read about the daughters. It just seems like they're thinking in a new light, and they're also kind of the new generation of trust in the numbers more so than feel. So yeah, it's gonna be an interesting future with them. But we just nailed it on the head. It's Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones. We'll know more later in the season. Right now, as we sit here right now, they're both splitting reps, so no one really knows who the main quarterback is going to be there.
Listen, before Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, Robert Kraft and Jim Irsay were just dudes who had family or wife wealth who bought a team and were trying to figure out what to do with it and were completely unexceptional until they landed on quarterbacks who made them look like geniuses so they could act like these brilliant, thoughtful, caring, player-first owners that everybody wanted to love, right? Quarterbacks solve everything, which leads us to, can Daniel Jones be this year's Sam Darnold, right? And can Shane Steichen do what Kevin O'Connell did? At least make him a little more comfortable, put him in better positions than he's been in. Whatever Daboll did that first year with Daniel Jones, can Shane Steichen replicate some of that magic? I don't know, but the uncertainty and the fact we've seen so much evidence of quarterbacks taken high in the first round, getting opportunities, revitalizing their career, at least for a season, makes me want to pass completely on this team.
Yeah, and I would be more interested in them if I knew exactly the quarterback was. But at this point, like we just said, it's just like plus 720 for the divisional odds. Yes, me and Chad love those type of bets, but we can't just bet on the unknown right now, in my opinion.
Speaking of plus 720, The Tennessee Titans plus 720, 100 to 1 to win the conference, 200 to
Yeah.
1 to win the Super Bowl. Win total 5.5. Last season, epically, historically, record setting bad against the spread run. 2-15, the worst by any team in the Super Bowl era. When the season offseason began and they had Cam Ward and I like that they signed Kevin Seitzer from the Lions to help improve their offensive line.
Yeah,
We
big
both love
signing.
what's that?
A big signing for
Big
them.
signing.
Yeah.
And like we both love Bill Callahan as an offensive line coach and Brian Callahan. Obviously, the jury's out. We've been tempted here a little bit.
Yeah, I love this team. And like Chad knows, I've been talking about them for a couple of months now. I was giving them out at plus 800, plus 900, a couple books for this division. And, love the win total, obviously, over 5.5. Like a couple books over them at 4.5, which to me was insane. But I think that was because they hadn't drafted Cam Ward yet. And we saw after they drafted him, this number has shifted up to 5.5 in almost all the books. So love the win total. And my whole view of this team is they were so bad at the quarterback position. It was just such a negative. We've never seen anything like it. That was like one of the things that pained me last year was a really big blind spot to the amount of fans of our show begging us to fade the Tennessee Titans every week. And me and Chad are just too smart. We are too smart. And we did avoid them. We did not bet on Tennessee, thank God. But we should have just been fading Will Levis and that train wreck of a team. I mean, the worst special teams in football too. So again, easy things to correct though, right? Because it's the quarterback and special teams to me was the glaring weaknesses. It wasn't their defense. I mean, yes, their offense wasn't good, but it was because once again, the quarterback position was nothing. To me, with Calvin Ridley, with Cam Ward, that could be a real connection passing game wise. And like people think that's not that big of a deal. It is when you know Calvin really has that talent, right? He missed a year because of gambling. When he's worked his way back these last couple of years, and everything I've read and seen in camp, there is a spark there. Like he realizes there's potential in this quarterback, unlike there was a Will Levis. And they've talked about bringing in guys for the special teams to change what they had last year, and it's a big deal when you know you're the worst team in football in special teams. That's an easy correct. Bringing in different players, different coaching staff to correct that weakness. And we talk, it's the quarterback. Like it's in this division, if you hit right on the quarterback, it can flip it because you're going from the last place schedule in a weak division. That's a huge upper hand. So this is another team that, we'll dive into week one, obviously, but they're at Denver week one, Cam Ward. That is a horrible, horrible spot for a rookie. Denver already is notorious. I can't wait for Evan to drop the stat. Denver at home in September, you don't want to go up to Mile High and play those early seasons. It's hot, the air, everything. It's thin. Guys just do not do well in the first couple of weeks up there. And you're putting a rookie on the road there. So if you want, you've already missed a plus 800. If you don't want to take the plus 700 or plus 750 that's out there, you can just wait, assume they go 0-1, and then take that position again before they're at home against the Rams, which a lot of people think that's a bad spot for them at home against the Rams. Rams are notorious for starting slow. I don't think that's as bad as a spot as people think, especially the fact that their first game, the Rams, is against Seattle, a divisional game, and then on the road. That's a tough spot for the Rams. So just if you want to be patient, you can. But to me, I'm grabbing the win total now because I think it's still good. It's such great value. Taking the division odds. I love everything about this team and everything I've seen about Cam Ward. I love. And again, me and you talk about these teams, Chad, that no one's talking about. No one's talking about the number one pick, Cam Ward. That's a good spot you want to be in when you're back in a team. You want to be what Jaden Daniels was last year, right? No one talking about Jaden Daniels at this point. Everyone was talking about, not to bust Chad's balls, but Caleb Williams and the upside of that Bears team and they're running up their win total up to 9.5. You want this. You want low expectations on a team that was last in the division. So yeah, love the win total for this Tennessee team.
You've said the magic word here, which is you kind of have to believe that the Commanders have the Titans have some kind of Commanders magic. That Jaden Daniels is the football equivalent, or that Cam Ward is the football equivalent of Jaden Daniels, and that in the same way the Commanders defense, Brandon Anderson talked about this when we were talking about playoff scenarios. It's easier for a defense to incrementally improve and it has a bigger impact on the team than the other side of the ball, right? And so you have to believe that the Titans can incrementally improve on defense and that Cam Ward can be as good as or just underneath what Jaden Daniels was, and that offensive line, that's an inside baseball thing, right? Believing in Bill Callahan, his ability to coach up an offensive line if they get a little more talented, you got to believe a lot. So I feel like your entire bet is based on speculation and trying to find an opportunity and a window more than it is anything that any of us are going to find in the data, in the stats, on the field, any of that, because we just don't know. It's purely finding a fact pattern and applying some historical institutional knowledge to it.
Mathematically, though, it's as a bettor, it's very simple. When you break down, go through the numbers. It's literally almost mathematically impossible to do what they did last year. So, like, just going off of that, you're like, it's only up. Like, we just 2-15 against the spread. We never seen anything like it. It was the craziest thing ever. How bad they were against the spread, and how every game just Will Levis somehow had the stupidest turnover we've ever seen. We should have known, though. That week 1 against the Bears was just the start of it all, and we should have known right then and there. This is a train wreck of a team because they just do not have a quarterback. So, yeah, really high expectations for Cam Ward. Every step he's taken since high school through college to right now, he's improved every level. Every time he's moved up to a new team, to a new level, he's always improved. So, yeah, I'm really excited for this guy. I don't even want to say I have him the same level as I do with Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels, but I literally have him right there. Like, if he came out last year, I would have taken Jaden Daniels. I had him ranked higher, but honestly, obviously didn't know Jaden Daniels was going to turn into what he did. But at the time, I had them really close, like 1A, 1B. So yeah, just a lot of the hearsay, people saying he would have been behind Michael Penix. I think that's a ridiculous conversation. Yeah, I think he would have gone before him last year in the draft. I really love the upside of this kid, Cam Ward.
What do you like about him?
Other than his footwork, he's just so cool. Like, he reminds me of Lamar, where there's bodies flying around him, and he's just so composed in the pocket, so cool, calm, relaxed. Even after big moments, big hits, he's always able to stay level. And I really look for guys like that. The moments are never too big for them. And I saw it time and time again in college where, he would have this incredible 10, 12 play drive. And again, Miami's one of the worst defenses I've ever seen. They would give up a 70-yard touchdown next play. And he would just put his helmet back on, back to work, drive his team right down the field, do it again. He was just robotic in that way, just such a command of the offense. And even what I've watched, the little stuff I've watched with him at Tennessee, his poise and his movement, like I said, you can tell he's been working on his feet even during the offseason. So, yeah, I'm just really, really excited to see what he's going to be like as a pro.
He is a no-drama draft pick.
No. Simple man.
Just like, we have not heard anything about him in the way we heard about Caleb Williams last year, in the way we heard about Shedeur Sanders this year, in the way that we would hear about other number 1 overall picks. Very little attention being paid to Cam Ward and very little expectations, which also could play to the strength of what you're talking about. What is, looking at all 4 of these teams, your favorite division bet?
I mean, it's going to be Titans over wins in their division odds.
Titans over 5.5 and Titans plus 720.
Yeah. Just they just really, there's always, me and Chad talked about, there's teams. I have a couple fourth place teams from last year I like this year, but there's always one team, just like we talked about with Washington and the Vikings, and there's always these random teams like last year that just pop out of nowhere, and this Tennessee really seems like that team to me. So the fact that their win total is so low based on public opinion, I love that value.
It is massively under expectations. I feel the same way about the Jags at plus 300 and over 7.5.
I like it. I told people that I'm going to be patient on the Jags. I'm going to bet their win total and I'm going to bet their divisional odds after their bye week, just because it's the start from hell for them. I just can't believe the schedule makers gave them such an insane start to the season. But it's awesome because, again, you have a new coaching staff. it's feet to the fire. You're gonna learn quick. Either you're gonna have a huge advantage on teams because they're not gonna be prepared for the Jaguars, or they're just gonna get rolled because it's a brutal, like the coaching staffs that they're going against in the first couple of weeks. It's a really tough start to the season for the Jaguars.
Look, if they get rolled, you got to start thinking about what's going to happen to Trevor Lawrence and how they're going to manage that in the future, because that will have been basically now going into a third season where
They
they
paid
have
him.
not exceeded expectations. Last year, he was only injured in the second half of the year.
Yeah.
So the first half, he was terrible. And we've talked about this. Like, I remember one year we loved Trevor Lawrence. I don't know what it was, 30, 40 to 1 to lead the league in passing touchdowns because we felt like he had progressed so far. And then oftentimes in the red zone, it looked like he regressed. So this to me feels like a make it or break it year for Trevor Lawrence. I know there's contract issues involved, but if he doesn't perform this year and this team doesn't do well, then what are you fucking doing? What are you waiting for?
Yeah, but again, it'll be tough because with this division, they could just once again get to 7 wins, and even if they want to move on from, what do? You don't have the draft. You're not high enough in the draft to move on from. So, yeah, I think they're stuck with him for at least 2 more seasons just because of the money. Like we talk about the contract, and I just we talk. He's inconsistent. Like he'll win games. He can steal games for you, but then he'll turn out against one of the worst teams and just not show up or have a ton of turnovers. And yeah, we're in the same thing with the Jags. It's like it's a make or break year, and we like the unknown, but you like it a little more than I do.
Well, I feel like my favorite bet has a little more you can see it to believe it substance, even though it's probably wrong. And your favorite bet has a you got to believe it and understand that this is going to happen somewhere in the NFL. And you're making your bet on this team and this quarterback to do that, to make that Commanders type leap, to make that Texans type leap from 2023.
Well, the
You're saying
Titans.
yours with more conviction.
I should say this Titans win thing that when I grade these out, this is like one of the better higher grades I have on a win total. Like this has a higher than a 60% chance of hitting. That's like when I run those type of numbers, that's really good win total wise. That's why I'm so. I mean, you knew months ago I was really emphatic about this team because as soon as I saw that, the fact that that's how big of a difference it is putting in a quarterback at a rookie that is that much at a higher grade than I have it on Will Levis. It is that big of an upgrade to a team that last year had bad luck, and we talk all the time about the last place schedule. Like it's a cheat code, and it's again we'll get into all these win totals of different teams. There's teams I don't love that much. Like we started the Jaguars, I'm not in love with them, but I get why Chad's been there over because their second half is very easy.
Yeah.
Like
Six easiest schedule.
right, and they could easily have a nice stretch to end the season. So that's something we're really breaking down here. Is we believe in these teams. I'm giving you my high hopes of this Tennessee team, but like I said, I'm probably going to be fading them week 1 just because it's such a bad spot.
All right. So that was the AFC South divisional betting preview. We will return with our next episode Thursday on the Action Network YouTube page when we talk NFC South. Also, check out at Real Chad Millman on YouTube for clips and highlights. Download us from Spotify, Apple Pods, wherever you get your pods. Rate, review, subscribe, leave us 5 stars, say whatever you want. Feedback is a gift. Until next time, love you.